Hey you, I'm Sarah Turner. I'm a freelance medical copywriter and it is 2020 and every copywriter needs to know this. So, this also doubles as a video for people who are looking to hire copywriters because this is one of the questions I get asked the most. What are people looking for when it comes to hiring a good copywriter? This is also a good list of qualities and traits that make a good copywriter. So if you're thinking about copywriting, this is also for you. So again, I'm always asked this. I want to hire a copywriter, but I'm not sure what I'm looking for. And then on the other hand, I get from people like, I want to be a copywriter. How do I know if I'll make a good one? So these are 10 traits of a really excellent copywriter. So the first one I'm going to start with is that you need to be an excellent researcher. So loving research, loving learning, those are really good traits in a copywriter because you got to be able to research and enjoy it and know whatever it is you're talking about to the nth degree. The next one is to be an excellent listener. So, not only do you want to be a good researcher, but you got to be an excellent listener and a great interviewer. So, if you hop on the phone with a copywriter and they do all the talking, that is not a good sign. So, look for people who are excellent listeners, who hear what you say, who repeat things back to you, and to show that they really heard you. The next one, number 3, is to know your audience, which is why I always recommend you hire a specialist copywriter. And as a copywriter, you have a niche. So the reason that's important is because one of the most core elements of good copywriting is really understanding your audience. And when you have somebody who's already in your niche, they're starting out with baseline knowledge. That doesn't mean a really excellent copywriter can't write in any industry. They can because they're excellent researchers. But when you hire somebody who's already familiar with your industry and with your demographic and things like that, you're starting out with a base of knowledge that's going to make their job better. So definitely choose somebody who's familiar with your industry. And if you're a copywriter, this is why I'm like, pick a niche, pick a niche, pick a niche, because it is going to also make your life a lot easier. Number 4 is being an amazing problem solver. If you are somebody who gives up quickly, copywriting isn't for you. If you want to be a copywriter for years and years and continue to reap the benefits of it as well as grow your skill set, you need to be a problem solver. You can't give up the first time something doesn't work. Interfaces are constantly changing, techniques are changing, strategies are changing. Digital marketing is a very fluid industry and there are things always moving, always changing, always innovating. So as a copywriter, you gotta be a problem solver. You're gonna help your client better and it's more fun, quite honestly, because you get to learn, you get to grow, you get to change with it. Number 5 would be asking for examples of what's worked, but also what hasn't worked. So whenever I have a call with a client, I always say, could you give me some examples of things that did really well? And could you give me some examples of things that totally bombed? And I always ask for that because it gives me a clear picture of what's going on and what's happening and what's worked and what hasn't. And the thing is you can't assume as a copywriter. You've got to ask for these things because you're going to gain so much insight by looking at them. And sometimes you won't even know. I can't tell you, sometimes you'll test something, you'll think it's amazing, it was similar to something else that did really well, and you get the results back and you're like, why did this bomb? I don't know. So it's really important to collect from both ends of the spectrum so that you can get a really clear picture and be able to write really amazing copy for your clients. And then on the flip side, that means when people ask me, what do I look for when hiring a copywriter? I always say they should be asking you for samples for things that you've worked on in the past and things that have done well and things that also haven't done well. The next thing is willingness to offer ideas and suggestions. I'm constantly offering ideas and suggestions to my clients that are outside of my scope of work. I'll make suggestions to things I see on a website, in the design, with SEO, although that is part of my scope of work, but you get the idea. Or I'll see something somebody else does with their marketing, and I'll be like, this would be perfect for this particular client. And I'll go to that client and be like, look what I just saw. I think this would do really well for you. So always kind of thinking about things like that and offering ideas and suggestions to your client is huge. It shows you're on the same team. It shows that you're really thinking outside the box. And again, it kind of touches on that problem solver. So the next one would be a willingness to take feedback. And this is something that I think especially newbies struggle with. It can be kind of like gut-wrenching to have somebody give you feedback on something you poured your heart and soul into. But you got to know it's for the benefit of everything. It's for the long-term goal. It's to make you better. And it's part of the process. So if you can't take feedback, copywriting is probably not for you. So willingness to take feedback is super important. And that doesn't mean you need to work with somebody who's like treats you like crap, You definitely want to work with somebody who is respectful and kind and has a team player mindset. That is actually another good point. I have definitely, been in the process of potentially taking on a client and starting to work with their marketing team and realized they were not team players and that they were very cutthroat and not really interested in having conversations that were open. And it just wasn't, one, a fun environment, but two, it kind of worried me about their willingness to try things and test things in the future, and also their understanding of just basic metrics and how sometimes things flop and you need to look at it, examine it, and know how to move forward. That's a good thing. And that brings us to the next one, a willingness to test and try new things. So again, this is a process where we're always testing, we're always trying new things. The industry is changing and innovating, and you gotta be somebody who's interested in that, or copywriting's really not gonna be that much fun for you. And again, back to the client thing, I also always recommend that to people when they ask me what to look for when hiring a copywriter. Number 9 is a willingness to ask for help. That is so important. At the end of the day, we're all students in this digital marketing landscape because, again, I've said it, I feel like I've said it like 10 times now, but things are always changing. And so if you don't have a willingness to ask for help or to say I don't know or I don't understand something, I don't know, I just think that's a really crappy quality, and not just copywriters, but in people you're working with in general. It's so much better to say, I don't know, or I'm not sure, or let me get back to you so I can kind of put my thoughts together and figure that out, than to pretend like you know something you don't. So always be willing to ask for help. And maybe it's not with your client, but maybe, you reach out to a mentor. I mean, you should definitely get a mentor. Or you reach out to another copywriter and you say, hey, would you be willing to help me out with this project? I'll pay you. I've done that before, and I've learned new forms of copy. It's so important to be willing to ask for help. And then finally, always learning. You're always learning when you're a copywriter. It's really fun. And you want to work with clients who are open to that, trying new things, testing new things, and that will make your relationship so much better. So these are the things that copywriters got to know in 2020 about what it means to be a good copywriter. And also, I think it's important to keep in mind, because so often newbie copywriters, they'll get on these client calls and they think they have to present themselves like they know everything and they're totally sure. And I cannot tell you the number of times where, I've said something like, I don't know, I don't do that type of copy, or that, I've never done that type of project. Those are far and few between now. I was trying to think of an example. But yeah, I can't tell you how much people like and admire when you just say, I don't know, let me figure it out and get back to you. Let me ask someone I know who will know the answer to that, who I trust. So yeah, those are the things that I think are super important for every copywriter in 2020. I'd love to see us collectively be a little less arrogant and just acknowledge that we're all in this together on the same team, because we really are. And yeah, it's just super important, and I wanted to make this something that you really think about as a copywriter. So hit that thumbs up button if you like that video. Share in the comments what are some other things you think copywriters really need to know in 2020. And of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you get all the notifications for when things are new and improved on my YouTube channel. I've had too much coffee today. Bye guys.